Good morning and welcome to episode 8 of the Arisen podcast. My name is Mo Dangy. I'm coming to you from Australia via the power of a way vessel. And the other fine guest of this podcast is Mr. Floor 400 himself, the back-to-back Orna Content Creator of the Year, the most attractive man in all of Scotland, the Orna legend, the man himself, Mr. Shabash. How are you, Shabash?
Good morning, everyone. Dangy, thank you. I'm fine. How are you? Good to see you.
Doing good, mate. It's daytime. I can actually see outside for one of these podcasts for once, which is it's an interesting experience. I'm happy. I'm excited. I'm on holidays.
Oh, so holidays!
The vibe is high, mate. The vibe is high.
That's good dedication, mate. Taking all your annual leave to get on the podcast.
That's right. It's all about Orna, right? You know, I'm taking leave to do some Orna duties. That's it. Now, Shab, we did have lined up a guest for today a while ago. Actually, a couple of times through our podcast, we have mentioned that, you know, we don't want to direct everything that we do, and you certainly don't in your content, to just tier 10s, tier 11 viewers. We want to make sure that we're covering a broad range of tiers and getting the experience from other members within the community. So you guys may have seen on the poster that there was a name on there that's pronounced Young God or YG Kobe. It looks like he can't make it today, so he's an apology, last minute apology, so won't be joining us on this podcast today. But there was an effort made. We just didn't get it happening.
Yeah, we did make the effort.
Unfortunately, but regardless, there's plenty to talk about.
There is. I don't know where to start, Dangy. Is it October there for you? Is it October down there?
Mate, it's
a new event.
Yeah, it's October. That's right. New events kicked off. Our flow for the podcast may be being a little bit disrupted because we were going to get Kobe to go through a little bit of a chat and chat through his story, and we were all keen to hear it. But what we might kick into is some of the bigger news, and the podcast format might just be a little bit shorter today. We'll see. I can always talk, you know, I can fill the silence. But there's been some...
don't think we need to worry about that.
Don't need to worry about it with me about, hey. Been some big changes, been some smaller things. Maybe we cover the events that have gone on first before the rather large change that's come for beta and is coming to the rest of the world soon enough. So yeah, like you said, it's October. It's a new month. So that means that there's a new event. Now this event, albeit a new event next to last month, it's actually not a new event. In that we've seen all of this content previously with the return of Pumpkinhead.
Yep. Yeah, Pumpkinhead. I think this is his third time back in Orna, isn't it? He was here, I remember 2019, the first year I started, so perhaps even longer, actually, not 100% sure. But we've got Pumpkinhead, and then we've got something very exciting which nobody's seen before, I think. Coming halfway through the month with the new Orna calendar. We can talk about that in a minute. Why don't we start with... did we have a podcast in September? Can't remember. But the Mimic event. The Mimic event is just finished.
Mm-hmm.
There was some kind of chopping and changing halfway through with a certain item. Don't know if we'll see some kind of comeback from that. But basically, Mimics was fun. This is a great event for all tiers. You have the tier 5 Kingdom Raid, which drops some really important accessories for early game, new game players. The Ring of Day, the Arch Gizmo, that kind of thing. Yeah. You have the Mimic King of Kings, which drops something like Vulcan's Brew, which with the new Orn gains is every player wants to have saved up for those special events and use them with temples and everything like that. Mm-hmm. Among some other old event gear as well. And then you had the mightiest Mimic World Raid. Dangy, I know you killed a few of them, right?
Mate, I was pumped for this to come back. I think I said on the last podcast that I was praying for the Mimics to come back because there's a certain item that drops, although it's a tier 9 raid, and this is like the god tier World Raid month for tier 9s. It gives you opportunity at a couple of really cool things like pinions that come from Fey Cockatrice normally. There's the Fey Yeti coat, which comes from the Fey Yeti, obviously. So essentially during that month, you're doubling your chances at Fey Yeti coats because you can get it from the Yeti or the Mimic.
Yeah, tier 9 summons is absolutely amazing.
Oh, bonkers. And because there was only one World Raid boss in the pool, it meant that it was the lowest dilution that we've seen for a while to get things like the third Horseman for War Adorns. So in tier 9, it was an absolutely fantastic month for World Raid bosses. The tier 10s were chasing this, especially if you were building around Ward. There's other uses of this item, but the item in question is the Carl's Ring. There's a T10 version of it, and it has the highest, or had the highest combined base HP and mana on a single accessory. So the idea is to absolutely smash the Mimics early in the month so that I can get a hold of a legendary or fingers crossed an ornate Carl's Ring, because I play Gilgamesh, I like to build the ward as high as I possibly can. So probably personally smashed through about 250 scrolls and got a heap of mates to also do me a solid and give me some opportunities on their own World Raid bosses to hunt this item, and fortunately enough got an ornate and a legendary of the Carl's Ring. So they're pretty neat and exciting items. Until
what was it, like the day after you got an ornate?
So yeah, you go ahead.
I mean, I just want to comment on one particular person's amazing, ridiculous luck. Sir Dro, I know is a listener of the pod. Got a Demon Forged Carl's Ring. He woke up one morning, got a Demon Forged Carl's Ring last night. Jesus,
ludicrous.
Man. Like, surely that's the only one in the game. And
did it happen?
Kind of in a similar position to you, Dang. Just a couple of days later, we had some pretty significant item changes. There was a really big buff to Immortal Gear, essentially, which was I think the HP on all the items was buffed across the board.
Yes.
But the main one for the accessory slot obviously is the Immortal Ring, the tier 9 dropping from the Immortal Lord. The HP initially got kicked up all the way to 1200 on a 200% ornate, but it also got ward on it, which for those, if you've not played around with ward yet, basically even having an extra item with only 3% ward in it, it's another multiplier. And that can really significantly increase your ward. But the base HP was just it was just almost double the base HP and mana of the Carl's Ring that you just spent a few hundred scrolls on.
Yeah, it was interesting because historically the Immortals rings had that negative side to it as well. Yeah. So you'd have the positive HP, but you'd have negative mana. So it was still a good ring to build for your ward with, but then adding in that ward percentage just made it go over the top, because like you said, it's multiplicative. It means that it'll multiply by each item that has a ward percentage on it. So when it went up to that like 1200 range with some ward on it, oh my goodness, did ward go up a monstrous amount overnight.
Crazy. And when it first dropped, it didn't have any downsides. It was just a flat, like 1200 HP, 3% ward, 2% ward on the. Anyway, that guy, Sir Dro, wakes up a couple of days later and he gets a Demon Forged Immortals ring.
I don't even believe that. It is absolutely ludicrous. I've not got a Demon Forged item, or accessory, I should say, the whole time playing.
Crazy. But yeah, so a couple of days after that, the stats were kind of brought down a tad. The negative stats were reintroduced, but the ward remains on it. And yeah, I don't know if we'll see some ward on the Carl's ring. For me, it would make sense to put a little bit of ward on the Carl's ring, just, unless he has other ideas for it. I mean, the Carl's ring does have positive stats in other places for defense, resistance, attack, and all that kind of stuff. But
yeah, so
you're not. I think you're not using the Carl's ring, right? You're just using straight Immortal ring, right? For ward.
But for raiding, that's what you'd want to do. You'd want to have your ward as high as possible. So yeah, you'd use the Immortals rings. Even if you put the exact same amount of ward on the Carl's ring as the Immortal ring, I think mathematically it still works out that the Immortal ring's just slightly better, unless you have God roll Carl's rings and pretty terrible luck with Immortals rings.
Yeah.
I think putting just a touch of ward on it, the same amount would be good, because it would sort of put it into this unique sort of niche. Like you said, the Carl's ring has other stat bonuses on it. The big ones being attack and magic. So if you have an ornate Carl's ring, you've got something like 120, 130 attack or magic per accessory sitting there as well, which is a decent addition. So if you had that plus your ward, you'd start to consider using that for different scenarios.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, elsewhere, I saw a lot of people getting some ornate Vayeti coats. Triumph and Tragedy was a lot of people getting that. You already had one, Dangy, I think, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah.
This was the month that I originally was saving all of my scrolls for the Yeti coat, and then I got one just before September hit. So yeah.
I got a 169, which I was. It's a little teaser for an ornate, but I didn't feel like I still summoned a lot of scrolls. With the new Underworld portals, we have been gaining scrolls, and we'll come on to that topic, I think, later on in the podcast. But I did summon a few, but still got a few in the bank. Perhaps saving for the second half of this month if something interesting pops up. But I got a few pinions, got a few greater souls from dismantled Yeti coats. But happy with the 169. Can use it as Swash. Can use it here and there for other things. So
yeah, a 169 is super useful. Like you could use it for Realm Endless as well. Doesn't need to necessarily be Swash Realm Endless.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Nice.
Faye Hellfire. Quick shout out to Faye Hellfire there. Thanks for the big orange tip there, buddy. Appreciate it. Just what you want to wake up to on a Saturday morning. So we've got October event. Pumpkinhead is back, and so far, it's the same as previous events. It's just the Pumpkinhead Kingdom raid, and assuming the World raid as well. You can spawn it if you are tier 8 to tier 10. The loot table is the same, and the loot table, Dang, is a little bit interesting. It works similar to the Mightiest Mimic, actually. He does drop different tiers of loot. And remember, you have to be at least of that tier to receive that item. So, what have we got? We've got the Hallowed Witch's Hat, which is, I think, tier 5 or tier 4. Basically like a ring of Anwin on your head. Gets a few slots at a Master Forged. Really amazing Swash item, by the way, if you can get Broken Elemental. That's my new target, I think, for the month. New target. What else is there? There's the White Sheet.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, tier 8, is it?
I believe tier 8 for the White Sheet, yep.
Now, when I first started, the White Sheet was actually like a god tier item, wasn't it? I think similar for you, Dangy.
Yeah. Back in the day, in PvP, people used to use Sleep all the time. White Sheet protects you from falling asleep, but not just that. It could be used by all classes, and it had some of the greatest defense and resistance split stats for for the tier. We were pretty low on items that had both defense and resistance, especially ones that could be used for all items.
Yeah.
Back when we were using this sort of stuff, so that was like the hat until you could manage to get a hold of a Arisen Witch's hat in tier 9 if you were lucky enough. People use that all the way through tier 9.
Yeah, it was absolutely god tier item. Now it's still amazing for the mid game. Still got the sleep immunity and stuff.
Yeah.
And then we have the Old Hallowed Blade.
The Old Hallowed Blade. This item, mate. It's at the single highest attack, so attack stat, not counting magic stat. Single highest attack stat on a melee item. I think I'd have to check the Feyneem and Havoc actually, but at least out of two-handers, it's higher than the Labrys.
Much higher than the Labrys. Higher than the Gandring as well.
Yeah, and a boatload of mana on it to boot.
Oh,
and it doesn't zero your ward out when it's fully leveled up.
You still get negative ward, but it's, as you said, it's not zeroed. It's like -5, 50% or something you'll end up with. This is, a lot of people have been talking about Old Hallowed Blade since it arrived, because I don't think it was there in the first, when Pumpkinhead first was here, there was no tier 10 actually, so it was here last year. By which point, most kingdoms weren't so invested, and you had to get super lucky to get one. But I think now, especially for the Swash playstyle, that extra mana counteracts pinion use so well. And we also have the Trevor's charms, but there was kind of giving a buff to two-handers. Funny story, I woke up yesterday morning, 1st of October, popped on Orna before work. And as you know, Dangy, and as others may be aware, I've been hiding away in one of Dave the Grey's kingdoms, trying to get an ornate Avalon crown, and I've been raiding Arthas like a madman for I think 2 months now. No ornate Avalon crown. Pumpkinhead's there. He'd been chipped away at by the kingdom, but I finished him off. First kill. Ornate Old Hallowed Blade. Absolutely ridiculous.
Do you have one?
I showed it to you yesterday.
Oh, did you really?
Oh, well.
It was my last work day and I didn't pay attention to heaps yesterday. That's just caught me off guard. Holy cow.
Yeah, I got one yesterday.
That is unreal.
It's not perfect.
Good roll?
It's not perfect. Nah, it's not perfect. It's like 177. But
okay, yep. You take it.
This is the crazy thing. So assessed it. So like Godforge, I think it comes out with like 1770 attack or something. Which
right.
And I was like, holy! It's got a lot of slots as well. And then if you get a 10 at Godforge,
I think it's 10 at Godforge. Yeah.
If you get a 200%, there was still like wiggle room for an extra 220 attack for me if I got a 200%. 1992 if you get 200%. 1992 attack at Godforge. Remember that because that's the year I was born.
This is the crazy thing about this weapon, because like when you were building Swash previously, like you said, you'd use Crimson Pinions, or you'd want to lower the defense on the gear that you're using, but they had that massive negative side of negative 40 mana. And when you're doing Realm Swash, you start with low base mana anyway, so if you load yourself up with pinions, you get a bit stuck. You run out of mana, so you can't do anything. So people are using Cursed Rings to lower their defense that way, so that they don't have to use as many pinions and trying to find ways to wiggle in the mana. But now we've had the advent of the Trevor's Charms, and you've got this Old Hallowed Blade, and potentially if you have a whole heap of Ferocious Bullseyes sitting there, which also have mana on them, and they have crit, just if you happen to want to play with Swordy and Realm Strikes, you could build this mega low defense, super high attack Realm Swash with Trevor Charms and Old Hallow Blade with a bunch of mana as well.
I'm super excited. I just wish I got more Ferocious Bullseye. I'll need to farm Ceres when he comes back around next year.
How many have you got?
I think I have 12, 10 or 12 in total. Yeah, but I have them on other things as well. So
this is how I play with my Bullseyes. I just swap them between the weapons repeatedly.
Yeah. Depending on what you're playing. Yeah. But
yeah.
Again, another new thing that wasn't possible before. You can
That's right.
remove your adornments as wanted. But yeah, super excited to play with the Trevor Charms, see what kind of attack stats we can get, and actually have mana to use skills rather than like Volley 3 which is a completely fine skill.
Mr. 14k attack, is that what's happening next?
14k.
Who's hit the most? What was Jeffel's peak?
Yeah, Jeffels was over 14k. I'm not sure if he's still on the Swash server. I think he was like 14,100 or something like that. And he had room to grow as well, you know. He didn't...
Jeez.
If I had the same Ascension level as him, I would have had higher. So yeah, he had room, but rest in peace, that man.
Yeah.
I don't think we'll see the Jeffels character come back. But yeah, let's... I had kind of removed pinions around so I hadn't had a max attack build going yet. I was kind of using a more robust Swash build. But yeah, with the extra mana from Old Hallow Blade, I think we can go max attack again. See where we're at.
Yeah.
So
mate, that's
yeah, no, it's awesome. Another awesome thing, Dangy. Orna Calendar. Orna Calendar. Yeah. This must have, for sure, this has been suggested quite a few times. And Odie's done it. He's got something up there.
So this went live something like, what was it, 12 hours ago, maybe? Or it was recently, it was within the last day. And this is pretty neat because historically you've never been quite sure when to use things like your kingdom temples or you know, when should I spend a weekend going for a big gauntlet session and trying to level up. Now, if you go to the Orna website, there is a calendar and it's in the announcements on the main Discord. There's a calendar there that shows you quite literally the dates of when things are going to happen. And there's a really interesting one in there, Shabash. Amongst all of the other stuff, like our normal spelunking events and XP events, there's an interesting one in there.
Something we've not seen before. Exciting, scary.
Scary.
Ooh. Yeah, this is Now this is awesome. I think over the last kind of few months, we have seen Odie chuck in a couple of really unexpected events, kind of like halfway through the month, either for a weekend like the Solstice event. Fallen Merlin came back for, was it 10 days or something? During the Trevelyan month as well. So this looks like it could be something new, though. What are you thinking? I think it's going to be something new.
Oh yeah, I don't even know. So for clarity for those who haven't seen the calendar yet, it's quite literally a calendar, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and it's got every event on each of those days. And starting from the 15th of October, it's got an event that has a little ghost icon, and it just says "boo." So I got no idea what the event will be. Last time we had an event that was inserted into a month, it was, like you said, Merlin come into the Trevelyan month. I'm thinking, given that this is like 2 weeks, potentially there's another World Raid boss hitting in the back half of this month. At, worst case scenario, if you follow this advice, you still got 2 months to burn your scrolls if you happen to want to this month. But I'd probably hold them off until the back half of the month, just in case there's something coming that's pretty exciting. But don't know, man. Things are getting turned up. I keep thinking that he's just going to try and iron out a couple of these kinks and whatever, which he's doing a great job at, but he's also churning out a heap of other stuff in the background. So pretty excited.
Yeah, great shout, Danny. I reckon holding back some scrolls to the back end of the month, just to see what the event is like. I'm just really happy that with this calendar. It's such a simple thing, but it actually gives a really, really good quality of life boost to kingdoms. So you can hold those temples back. You know, using it's really frustrating, especially if your florin income isn't super high and you're not sitting on a big stockpile and you have to use maybe temples once a month or something. You can, hold them back. You can tell your kingdom mates, all right, there's going to be an experience event. I think it's the 18th or something for October. Like, definitely double check that. I don't have it open in front of me.
There's a Splunking event the 19th and 20th of October.
There we go. So that's probably the one I'm going to ask Dave to pop the at least the Oran Temple.
Yep.
And there's an experience event as well. It's just
11th. So cool.
So that'll be. That's not even a weekend, is it? That's like a Monday.
No, well, Sunday, Monday. But yeah, I mean, we've had events on Mondays in the past. I only know this because in Australia, it's always our Tuesday. We're triggering things on a Tuesday. The calendar though, for us, this is what we do. Shab and we have high florin income because people churn out quests, so we're in a bit of a fortunate position. But we just do our temples twice a week where we can. There's one of them that you can only do once a week. I think it's Yorn's one because it's got a 4-day rollover rather than 3, so it makes it a bit tough. But what that actually means is quite a lot of the time our temple days don't line up with the event days. We've got them on the days that we think is when the most common events land, which is like a Tuesday and Saturday in Australia, or Monday and Friday for the rest of the world. But yeah, sometimes we'll do our Orn Temple a day after or a day before or whatever when the events would land. But it's so easy. Month starts and I'm like, cool, great. We know not to use our XP temple on Saturday because there's going to be an event a day later.
Yeah.
Hold it off. Use the XP temple that day later. Get the double up. And then the whole kingdom can reap the rewards. It's awesome.
Cash in. Yep. Small change, but super useful for everyone, not just people in kingdoms. Yeah, everyone. Like it?
Yeah. Love it.
What's next on the list, mate?
Well, mate, there's a huge amount on this list because last time we spoke about how Orna 3.0 was coming. It was a sort of a teaser that Odie had given, and now we know a lot of what that means because it has hit beta. So quite a few folks have gotten a lot of opportunity, including yourself and myself, to play around with the beta and start to get our teeth into some of this Orna 3.0 content. Orna Legends website actually has an unofficial patch notes write-up on this, which covers a whole chunk of the changes. And as the author of that fine article, do you want to rattle off a couple of the changes? Because there's a lot.
There's so many. I don't have it in front of me, Dangy, but I will link it in the YouTube description box when this goes up. I mean, there's so many small changes here and there. I mean, yeah. So when did beta drop? Like just the halfway through September or something like that. Let me bring this up, Dangy.
Yeah. So I can rattle off a couple of the changes that have come in Orna 3.0. Odie did a little bit of a, I guess, announcement to the Orna 3.0 beta, which included extra translations for Hungarian and Romanian, so there's always more languages getting added in. Revamped battle system, and enemy AI. So this is relatively huge, the revamped battle system. The turn order that exists in there, there's things like Foresight, the speed. Everything goes so much faster than what we've been used to for years. There's things like targeting, because there's multi-enemy encounters now, so you can target who you want to. There's themed dungeons. So I think the themed dungeons that we know of, or that exist in the game at the moment, Goblin Fortress, Mystic Cave, Beast Den, Chaos Portal, Underworld Portal, Dragon Roost Battlegrounds, and Valley of the Gods.
That's them, yeah.
Yep. With, it seems like, varying rates of spawning, which it feels like essentially the harder. So it's got a rating within it. You know how you enter a raid and it'll say it's hard or brutal or normal or whatever. And it's got a recommended party size. It seems like the harder ones are a bit rarer, with Valley of the Gods being the rarest. But that seems also to have been tweaked throughout the life of the beta. So I don't know where that lands right now, so I won't make solid comment on it yet. Live PvP.
Yeah.
That's a thing.
It is a thing. It's in beta it was funny because there's not that many people playing, he's chucked all tiers together. So there's been a few, lower tier people jump in and get, slaughtered turn one. I can't wait for this to go live and just have more people in the actual arena pool, because I've been sitting in the queue for, minutes at a time sometimes, and there's nobody there. So the old arena is still available. It's called Sparring now, so you can still go in the arena and farm PvP items, etc. There's also, if you're in a party, you can start off the arena live arena in your party. You will need to wait for a party of same size to also queue up, but that's really exciting for PvP events in the future. We're definitely going to do something via Orna Legends, and hopefully it won't be too long before some official PvP events go live as well. Seasons and stuff were hyped over a year ago, I think. So yeah, exciting for that. I think like day one of beta, Odie was quite active in the live arena with one of his OP builds, hitting you for like 4 million and stuff like this. That was fun.
Yeah, that's hilarious. You got a little video of that up as well. Brilliant. You mentioned the party PvP, which wasn't at the notes here, but obviously something that exists in there. And that's actually expanded to Colosseums.
Yeah, that's
as
right.
I understand it as well. So you've given that a crack, right?
Yeah, actually, it was just a random thing. I think we were doing an Underworld portal with just four of us in the party, just a random pub game. And after finishing the dungeons, one of the guys goes, I've got a Colosseum, let's do it. I'm like, all right, fine. And it's quite an interesting experience. So 4v4, you're playing against the AI, but like other Colosseums, it's random. They all get stat boosts, and I can see a lot of strategy coming. Like a lot of things involved, like not just turn one shot meta 1v1. 4 players in a party. I'm excited. The Colosseum thing, with random players was a good fun. Without any communication. Like for example, you currently can't. There's no like in-game communication thing. Like you can't say, I'm attacking this guy next turn or things like that. Maybe that will come in the future. So
yeah,
voice chat is good.
No voice chat. Yeah, there's the chat. The party chat exists in game, but it's heavily reliant on people actually going and checking there. And because of the flow of how Orna works, everything's bang, bang, bang. You're taking your turns in seconds. You're making decisions in seconds. People aren't opening up a chat in between turns. So
no, I wasn't.
Yeah, voice chat. You've said a couple of things just there, Shab, that are just hilarious to think that this is the state of Orna right now. You said in a random pub game,
Yeah.
Like a random public game
Yeah.
you'd order, right? You're just like picking up random people and doing some content. Holy cow! Like that's unreal. But obviously you can then also play with just your friends or an organized group, and that content is some of the best. I know that you and I have done quite a few dungeons together, and we jump on with the intention to, do you want to just hit this Valley of the Gods real quick?
Yeah.
And then we end up on for like 3
Sure.
hours just chatting and playing, doing all of the dungeons that we can find, and it's unreal. Yeah. It's truly become like my nighttime game now, which is sensational.
No, that's crazy. Yeah, that's just being able to play with other players in an actual kind of co-op mode.
Yep.
Yeah, it is a huge change after being a predominantly solo game for the last almost 3 years now. And as you say, Dangy, like there's been a couple of big game drops recently. Diablo 2 Resurrected, I was going to play that. When that, forget all the Blizzard stuff, but when that initially was teased at the start of the year, I was like, end of September for like until Christmas, I'm going to play that, and Orna can, I'll play Orna on the side. But I've not even bought the game. I don't think unless I don't know you play. I'm sitting there farming underworld portals or trying to get gold forges and stuff. Or actually, to be honest, the thing right now is trying to find people to play with during when I'm available.
Time zones. I know the struggles, mate. But you're dead right. Like, there's been multiple games. One of the big ones for me, New World, only just came out. I've been so keen to play that game. Had a heap of people that I would play games with normally buy it and start playing it. And they keep messaging saying like, you're going to get this game. We'll jump on. We're already like level 30 or whatever. I'm like, yeah. And then somebody will flick me a message saying, do you want to do a few dungeons? I'm like, fuck that. I'm going to do some dungeons instead. And I mean, Orna's my favorite game. No hiding that fact. But yeah, this is absolutely just sensational. So that was one of the things that you said that was really like the pub game thing was interesting. But you also talked about the ability to, or the scope, I guess, lightly, of things like party PvP. So I'm guessing you're getting at, like, if you go into a Colosseum, you might have somebody built purely around the idea that they would do crowd control for the whole Colosseum. Somebody would be the damage dealer.
That's actually what happened in our pub game. There was a guy, Ulysses Sword. If you've ever seen some of his comments in the main Discord, you'll know that he kind of knows what he's talking about. Really, really clued up on the numbers, damage calcs, all that kind of thing. Like, you can like search from Ulysses Sword in the Discord. You will come out with a lot of information. So he was in the party, and he's a lower level character playing Realm, and without any prior communication, immediately out the gate, he took over that CC role. He was like sleep dart, stun dart. Even had burn. I saw him using burn. So that's, and for, I don't know what would be like a good character, like the best class to kind of fill that role. You could have like a dedicated support role. Presumably. But I mean, like presumably with a pet, like going in not for damage, maybe with yokai, or you could even like Beowulf Inquisitor. You could even bring people back to life. Like get the pawn across the board, bring the queen back.
Can you revive in Colosseum?
I haven't checked that, but I would assume you can.
Yeah, wow. That's cool. So that's a skill that's come in is the Inquisitor spec or specialization. T7 spec has a few party buffing skills, one of them being Revive 2. And Revive 1 sits on, is it Templar?
No, Cleric. Templar doesn't exist.
Cleric.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, what am I talking about? Yeah, so it's a 2-turn move and it brings back a fallen party member. So that'd be cool if that can exist in Colosseums. So you just have your damage dealer and then your designated roles. That's neat. It'd be good if Provoke worked well then.
It works, right?
I'm not sure yet. I can't work out how to make it work, but I'm sure that there's something in there. Provoke is a skill that's designed to draw threat towards you. You're meant to take more hits, but I can't work out how or if it is working just yet. But it is a beta. Yeah. We're meant to find out whether things are working properly just yet.
I wonder how I wonder how Provoke would work in live PvP. Like, imagine it wouldn't, huh? Or maybe there's like a chance of not allowing the other team to focus on one other player. That would be funny, but maybe a bit overpowered if you get like a massive tank.
Wonder if it'd just be scenarios like somebody charges a multi-turn skill like Ultima, and the target that they were aiming at dies, and there's 3 left, and one of them has Provoke. Maybe it automatically targets one with Provoke. They don't have a chance to retarget that because it's a multi-turn skill. Maybe something like that, which wouldn't be too egregious and powerful.
Yeah, or exactly like that comment. Like the next attack must target the provoked user.
Oh yeah.
We know that there's potentially going to be more specs released with the live. Odie's definitely confirmed that not everything is actually in the beta. So there was the Chronomancer spec, which was teased a couple of months ago, which we talked about in the previous podcast. That seemed like a very specific party role kind of spec. And with the Foresight, so I think you already explained, Dangy, but yeah, with Foresight, higher Foresight basically bumps you up the turn order during party play.
Yep.
And speaking of which, we had a few items about halfway through the beta. They were reintroduced with Foresight on them. So these are existing items in the game, but basically not always the most used items in the game, let's say. But yeah, this Foresight stat was introduced on them. He's actually played around with Foresight quite a lot since the start of beta. I think starting off, like day one, it was like the base was like 70 or something for every class. Some classes had more or less Foresight. Some specs had increased or decreased Foresight. Now it's like dependent on level, right?
Yeah, so it was 72.
This might change actually. Okay. So, but no, I'm just saying this might change before it goes live. But
I don't know if it was lower than 72 if you were playing on a class that wasn't level 250. Because I'll be honest, I've never once thought to open up a character that isn't my main, because I'm having way too much fun playing on the main to think to do that. But it was 72. The Foresight impacts who goes first in the turn order, like you said. And what was happening is you would enter these dungeons, particularly the new themed dungeons, where sometimes you would go in and there'd be either a berserk enemy or just multiple enemies that would all hit you before you had a chance to attack. Now that got changed, like you said, to 500. So 500 is actually the base for 250s. And it's less. And I don't know what it goes down by, but I think it's like 2 per level or something like that. And yeah, you have less Foresight if you're a lower level. Then the specs will influence it, like you said, and now this new gear. So what that does, changing it from 72 to 500, is it means you enter these new dungeons and almost always will go before the enemies, which means you can't die before the rounds start. There can be some berserks that will still go ahead of you, I believe.
Well, I guess you didn't play yesterday, Orna, because I think I saw a comment. I again should have confirmed this, but I didn't get around to playing any party dungeons yesterday. But I think Odie did actually change the Foresight numbers on some specific mobs the day before yesterday. Yeah. But as you said, like some Zerk mobs, they definitely have really high Foresight and will go before you. Like in the higher tiers, you're talking like Arisen Ronin. If that's a Zerk, and actually it can do damage. So if you're going into a party dungeon, with a carry, the meta right now obviously is a Charmer with Mage Pavane, but they're not going to start with Ward, so you can get like a quad cut turn 1, a lot of damage.
Yep.
Yep. But yeah, definitely. I'm sure the Foresight thing's going to kind of be adjusted. Certain mobs are going to have different levels. For example, like the Immortal Lord, again, it was already one of the worst bosses in boss dungeons in like tier 9 and at tier 10 as well. It has high Foresight, so if you're in party dungeons, yeah, you're gonna take a hit there. But Dangy, what about some of these items? We had like the Horseman Gear. Now all have Foresight on. It's actually caused me to level a couple of Horseman pieces up, which were just sitting in the keep doing absolutely nothing. So leveling a couple of those up.
I love how far Horseman Gear has come. We used to rag on this stuff all day, and now all of the Horseman Gear's got cool split stats. It's going to be useful for the Foresight bonus. The Horseman's Scythe is like one of the coolest Gilgamage weapons that exists out there now. It's in it's great to see the evolution with all of the adorns that drop from Horseman as well. They've become, we used to complain about them. Now they're great.
Cheers. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, the Horseman Gear. There's, what is it? The Lioness crown has Foresight on it. The Daybreak weapons have Foresight on them. I think there's like a couple of, is it like the Chimera weapons have Foresight on them?
The Fey Chimera weapons, which give the Berserk, they do give the Berserk 1 buff, but the damage is just really too low for any kind of tier 10 to use. Maybe a niche weapon with Beowulfs and stuff, but now it's a solid, it could be a solid choice for party play. The Bident as well, which was again has caused me to level 1 up just so I have it. Previously a kind of good early tier 10 weapon for realm shifters, but now potentially a solid choice. If I'm just thinking from the Swash perspective, realm Swash perspective, there's not that much gear available currently for Swash that has Foresight, because firstly, Foresight is affected by quality, so higher quality gear will have higher Foresight stats. It does work like that. It's not just like a set amount for all items of different quality. So quality does affect it, which is good. Something more to play around. So yeah, the Bident, leveling one of them up. What else? What else we got? I'm sure he's gonna. I'm sure he's gonna add Foresight sprinkled with either new items or kind of for other items currently in the game and stuff.
Yeah, and I don't think this is where, like you said, with the beta stuff, I have a suspicion that this isn't where everything ends either. Whether when it goes live there's extra stuff, or whether it just comes later. I think there'll be extra stuff coming which will not just be limited to adjusting some old gear to include some stats like Foresight, but there might be things coming like new gear, because we have seen through these themed dungeons, Shab, we've seen a couple of new enemies, new monsters get introduced along the way. Probably the most famous two through that is Gladyson and Boulder.
Yeah.
For pretty obvious reasons, the gear that they drop is really cool, and they can Godforge your items.
They can.
So more gold glow bosses to hunt down to try and Godforge your items, which is really neat. And they show in Gladyson in the Dragon Roost and Boulder in Battlegrounds, respectively. Boulder's got some really, really cool mage gear for tier 10. Some people... Sorry?
Also, they're both really cool sprites.
Oh, they're so cool. Such cool sprites. I think that both of them have been showcased in some of your videos for Battlegrounds and Dragon Roost, so people can go have a look at those if they want to have a look at what the sprites look like. They look cooler animated than they do still, so go watch the video. But yeah, the Boulder stuff, it's cool. It's got status protection on it. It's got ward on it, which there's not heaps of items out there that have ward still. It's quite a narrow field of option, I guess. So that's really neat, getting ward on like boot slot and head slot for the items rather than just chest. The Gladyson stuff drops some cool questing items, mate.
Yeah, the new Venom, but not just the Venom for melee, for all archetypes. He drops the staff, the bow, and the axe. And where it differs from previous kind of Orin grinding gear or experience grinding gear is, again, as you said, it has ward on it. So definitely going to be like a first target for pretty much anyone at tier 9 and above. They are tier 9 items like the Venom. It's the it's the best kind of comparison currently in the game. But I think there's a slight Orin increase that you get over the Venom, and you have ward for more survivability. As you said, like in party dungeons, I think ward is going to be important for everybody. Take some of those hits. But I think everyone's going to be wanting to get these questing weapons for farming, and especially your man saying there, the questing staff is actually the first option for mages to have both Orns and experience. Previously, the Arisen Witch's staff and the Black Witch's staff only gave experience. Now the questing staff gives Orns as well. So yeah, definitely going to be a pickup for everybody to target.
I think what's really interesting with these weapons, like you're saying, they've got ward on them, which makes them not just valuable as Orns and XP items. You know, like for Mage and Thief in particular, you've got your Realm and your Mage. There's not a lot of options in the weapon slot that has ward on it.
Yeah, you're right.
So they're actually good just in general. They've got not the highest attack, like you said, but having that ward can actually be quite a big deal. So when you're talking about Mage, forever and a day, people have used Heretic to go deep in Endless to level up because it's just one of the easier options. And now you might want to use this not just because it's got XP on it, but because it actually makes it a whole lot easier to survive as well.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Like typically for Heretic Endless, you would at least start off with your Arisen Witch's staff for the experience gains, but you'd get to a point where because you don't have that ward multiplier on your weapon, your effective HP pool is limited. So, as you say, this is going to help increase that and get you more Orns and experience along the way. Speaking of which, an absolutely massive change. Quality now affects Orn gains, and this is not just in beta. This went live immediately for everyone, beta and non-beta users, of course. As you say, which is obviously great. If beta were only the only ones getting some juicy Orn gains, that wouldn't be very fair. But basically now, any kind of quality only affected experience gains previously. Now the same story applies to Orns. So we went from, I don't know the exact numbers, but effectively now if you have like a Demon Forge set of Orn collecting gear, like your gains went up like 4-fold or something crazy like that.
Yeah, it's gone up an insane amount. And it'll be really interesting to hear from people from various points in the game how they feel about it. I know that there has been some positive reactions to this, and there has actually been some negative as well, because I know that there's a lot of players at the very top end who have been pushing really hard for a really long time, who feel somewhat invalidated in their efforts because they feel like, I had to earn those orns through hours and hours and hours of really difficult, strenuous effort, and now people are able to get them much easier. So I know that there's a little bit of a negative feeling amongst some people there. I don't think that it's the end of the world, because they're still in a really good position and they can now continue to gain. And if they keep doing what they're doing, they're still going to outpace everyone. So that's a thing. But what I think the stronger message for me with this is, I remember being in like tier 7, tier 8, tier 9, and just not having the orns for what I needed, man. Like, you'd get to tier 8 and you wouldn't have your class, and it'd be a grind to get that. It'd take so long. And you see so frequently people popping into main Discord or asking on Reddit, is it okay that I'm using double ring of restraints to get more orns so that I can actually get my next class? And then they get slammed for it, and it's a legitimate concern for people, because they're like, oh, you're telling me I have to buy Pale Dragon, but you're also telling me I have to buy these 2 classes to get the skills, and you're telling me to swap specs for the raids that I do and whatever, and they can't do it. They can't do it because they don't have the orns for it. So people would still run your Lost Helmets and your Jesters or Dark Garb or Reaper's Robe or, these items. But they really didn't do too much. So it ended up being just take it all off and just do things en masse. And that's the best way to get orns. Now, this should balance out the flow of that mid-game a lot better. And then, obviously, when you hit tier 10, there's a really scary thing that happens in that every class costs like 15 million orns as a base. And then you've got an Altar of Ascension that you have to build, which costs 50 million orns. And then you go and watch Shabash's video that shows you how much it scales as you ascend that, and you work out, oh god, that's only for one class. And it's like, that's a relatively daunting thing as well. So I think it should make the flow a little bit better. And the thing that we don't know is what the future holds, right? So we don't understand yet what else might come that costs orns. We don't understand yet where things play out in terms of, are these the last classes that we're ever going to get? I don't think that they are. I think there was something that Odie said on main Discord the other day, that he'd like to play around with other class lines. There's going to be things that we'll need to spend orns on, and I think that we need to just calm for a second, just, let's see how it plays out, rather than get too excited just yet. I think in the short term, though, it's really cool and fun to go and kill something and see that huge amount of orns there, so you can wear all your stuff, and it's like, oh, that's sick, that's like 10 times the orns that I've ever seen before.
Yeah. I think a couple of great points there. The last thing you said there, seeing like massive orn numbers, like I had a quick play around with Endless when in the first couple of days this dropped, and my previous highest orn on kill was just over 600,000 orns. But this was literally floor 399 of Endless, Berserk Fallen Realm Shifter. So, at the time, crazy amount of orns, but didn't really mean that much. Great comment there. Like now with Ascension, orns have a meaning. There's an orn sync there. And as I was playing around with Endless when these orn gains went live, I must have been on like floor 130 or something like this. Again, Zerk Fallen boss, like 1.1 million orns or something crazy like this, and that not even with maxed orn gear. So seeing that, I'm immediately like, oh, I need to level up all my orn gear. I need to Godforge all my orn gear. A couple of relevant points there. I'm going to talk about Swash for a second, because previously all Swash users were using broken pieces of gear, specifically for Orangate. So like the broken Lost Helmet, broken Court Jesters, and then in the early to mid game you have the broken Dark Garb. You mentioned the Dark Garb. If you were playing a mid game Mage Omni Swash build or something, you would have the Reaper's Robe. And now quality affects all that. So actually, if you're using a broken piece of gear, you're getting less Orns. So something really important we're going to have to do, and this is what I haven't done yet on my early mid game swashes. If you've got that broken Dark Garb, you're going to have to level that up and Master Forge it, because basically once you Master Forge an item, regardless if that was either broken or ornate quality previously, it now effectively has the same quality. So Master Forge, Demon Forge, God Forge, they all kind of act like a quality themselves. Yes. So they will give you the same amount of Orns, regardless if that was ornate or broken to start with. So actually, for that early to mid game Orn grinds, I think something which I'm gonna start recommending now is, as soon as you get like a Reaper's Robe, or even earlier, you can get like a Dark Robe. And especially the Dark Garb from Reapers is like tier 5 for thief classes at least. Even if it's broken or normal quality, like level it up and Master Forge it.
Mate.
Yeah. For grinding,
not even if it's a broken or normal, you'd nearly prefer that. Get it done with as low mat cost as possible.
Exactly.
Because the ornate's going to cost way more.
You're going to have a few hundred hide and bone sitting around. What you should do, unless you're playing like a pacifist build, but for 99% of the new players out there, they're going to have these mats sitting around, and invest in like a normal Dark Garb or like a normal Reaper's Robe in the mid game. That's really going to, as you say, smooth out the flow, the Orn gains, and hopefully be a better experience for newer players. I mean, talking about the Rings of Restraint, even the Rings of Restraint have, if you get a quality versions of them, you can find them from Mimics, you can get them here and there. If you are stuck and you have a quality Ring of Restraint, it's not that stupid now to actually use it for a few levels, or to get those Orns you need for your next class or next pet upgrade. So
yeah. It's an interesting item you bring up, Shab. One of the things that has been a big complaint with this change is that there's a tier 9 item that from a main story quest, the Band of Gods, is an Orn's XP and gold multiplier. And you can get a chance at dropping a second one, just like you do any other quest item from the end of the gauntlet. When you complete a dungeon or gauntlet, there's a chance that a quest item might drop, and when there's a chance it could drop, there's a chance it could drop in a higher quality. So there is some mixed feelings. The positive feelings likely coming from those with good quality Band of Gods, and the negative feelings coming from those without a good quality Band of Gods. I think that, you know what I'm like. I'm not really about focusing on the negative side of things with this. I think there's always room to grow. There's always, whenever there's something that doesn't feel great, that's an opportunity to work out what we could do to improve it. I can understand though why there might be a little bit of rough feelings if you've never got your second Band of Gods, and you're seeing people getting these Orns. So I can get that. You mentioned the Ring of Restraint, and I've shared this with you, but this is a little thought that I've had, and maybe there's a way to patch this wound of the people without a second Band of God. That maybe there's a tier 11 story quest that needs to happen at some point that
even
will
tier
reward.
10.
Well, maybe tier 10. The thought behind this being tier 11 is that there's a lot of people who hit tier 11 who still haven't got their second Band of Gods, and they're feeling quite miffed. But it could be tier 10. But anyway, the reward might be an Arisen Ring of Restraint. Now, I think that this is such a cool idea because it would be ultimate fan service to everyone who just, the Ring of Restraint's a meme of the community. I don't think Odie feels any kind of way about it, but everyone, this is a joke. And it's a fantastic part of the Honor history. If there was an Arisen version of the Ring of Restraint, I feel like it'd do a couple of things, right? You could have it be an Orn's multiplier, you could have it be a gold and even a luck multiplier, so it would increase drop rate as well. But you have it just completely cancel out XP, so you don't get XP anymore. And if you're at that 250, you don't need XP
anymore. Doesn't matter.
And what's interesting about that is it might encourage people to use this Ring of Restraint instead of something else. And there's a whole heap of feelings about currently 250s sharing XP with people and pushing them through levels. Once they hit about 225, they can start to, bring them into a party and level them up. And, there's a sense about that. But what if the best Orn's item that existed cancelled your XP? You wouldn't really have much desire to share XP. I'm not going to take off my Arisen Ring of Restraint just to power level you. I need Orn's, man. So then it plugs the whole of that second bog that people don't have. It fixes another problem, and then you've got 2 items that can now drop at the end of a gauntlet that can increase your Orn's.
It's a nice idea. Nice idea, Danny. I don't know what to. Yeah, I don't know what other people are. If people have want to comment on that, please feel free. Just top of my head, Danny. While we're in October month, there is the bag of treats that drops, which does increase Orn gain slightly as well. Easier to get a quality version of that than a Ring of Restraint, most probably for most people. So you can get get a quality version of that. Actually, one of the only things I have a Master Forge version of for accessories, by the way. That was from last year.
I used a normal one until I had every class because I didn't have a second Band of Gods.
Really? Okay.
I got my second Band of Gods so far after getting all the classes and all the pets I needed in the game, and I was just using the bag of treats, and that was my best second option as a Orn's and whatever multiplier. So it's a bit better nowadays, and if you get a quality one like you said, that's a big deal.
Increases your luck bonus as well, which may or may not be affecting certain item drops. It's hard to tell, to be honest. Hard to tell. I don't know how much luck you need to actually see like a noticeable increase in drops, but
mate, there's so much here. We haven't even gone through half of the items that have been listed in the updates for Honor 3.0. I think one of the larger ones that's worth bearing mention is the overhaul to the UI. So it looks a whole lot different to what it used to. People are really struggling to find where their achievements are or what their record is. They'll be on the party screen and they can't see their own gear and whatever, but I think you've done a few videos that show it a little bit. I don't know whether you've got one set up to do a bit of a UI showcase.
No, not yet. I mean, it's one of those things that muscle memory for playing the same kind of UI for months and months. The first few days, I was like, how do I change gear? Like, where are my stats? Like, you get used to it. You get used to it, and for new players, this might be more intuitive. I don't know. It works. Still does the same thing. So big change, but I think after a couple of weeks, everybody's going to forget what it used to look like. This isn't the first UI overhaul that Odie's done. So
this is the largest one, I'd say, though. But I mean, it didn't take me long to kind of get used to it. I prefer how it looks now that I am a bit more used to it, but I was definitely one of those people where I was like saying, where are my achievements? People are like, you just press achievements. I'm like, where is that? Because I was sitting on the party screen, because when you're on character, you've got a little party tab but you got to go across the character and then your achievements are there.
Yeah.
You get used to it, and that party screen in itself, showing all of your party members laid out the way it does, I think is awesome. It's got your pet there. You can see people's gear names.
Yeah, the gear names. You can even see their stats for their world loadout as well. See how much view distance they've got. If you're if you're wondering why they can't see the same dungeon you can, then they actually have a good excuse.
Yeah.
You can tell them to actually use a Foresight, for example.
Yeah.
One change that I've just come across there, which go and note it down, which is actually a huge change, I think. World raid bosses can now be summoned either publicly or privately, which means only people in your party can see them. Now, this is a great change. Scrolls until now were, took a lot of effort to come by. I think we've mentioned, or we've at least talked about this on the pod before. Once you summon them before, it's there in public. It's literally a world raid. Anyone in the vicinity who's either there on location or, God forbid, you spoof in a way vessel so people can come in and take your way vessels, take your world raids down. Don't do that. It was visible to all players, but now you have the option while you summon them to summon them privately, and that means only people in your party can see them. Really, really great. Before, the only thing you could do is if you blocked a player, that meant that they couldn't see world raids that you'd summoned, but you'd have to know the name of the player you wanted to block. I actually had to do that within the last kind of couple of weeks. Had a new Realm Swash move in, and still had a whole heap of world raids just sitting there. A lot of mimics and
probably spawned them for me during Mimic Month.
Yeah, and now useless. So I'll clean them up. But I immediately saw this guy was getting close, and I'm like, okay, I know I can at least block this guy, and he won't see my world raids. He's taking all my items, all my shrines, but at least the bastard won't get my world raids, so that's good. But yeah, all new world raids you summon now, you can click the private option. The next thing I like to see there is summon multiple world raids at a time.
Yeah, so that's probably the point I was going to make with it, is that I think that this was really good to do, but I see this very much as it'll be a multiple step approach to getting it right. How do I manage this perfectly? I know that there was concern from Odie. He doesn't want people to feel completely deflated by their month's worth of effort just disappearing because some not very nice person decided to come in and clean them up because they think it's a world raid. So, it belongs to everyone. I don't think that there's much to gain from being a bit of an idiot like that, to be honest, but to each their own. I know that the effort is very much to make it so that this feels a little bit more secure for people. There's a couple of things that I think need to happen with it. I would have much preferred it just be a straight up toggle. You've got the options section. You could go to character. You've already got a button there that says hide buildings. Yeah. I'd like that to just be a button there that says disable world raid sharing. Done. No one can see them. Then just like we have for dismantle by tiers, have a drop down to say share with party or share with allies. Done. So you can just toggle it on and off. I'm saying done. There's probably a shitload of coding that needs to go on to make that actually work. So it's probably a lot more complicated than that. But that would be a more useful way for me to do it. Then I could just summon them normally. The problem we have right now is everything that was already summoned wasn't private. So it can just be taken. Even if you put it onto private, it's private to party. And the way that party invites work currently is you don't really have any control about who comes in and out of the party outside of speaking to the people who are in the party to say, hey, can you please not invite someone else? Yeah. And I have seen circumstances where people are like, oh, I'll invite my mate, you can trust him, or do you mind me just bringing this friend along to do these dungeons? And they're like, yeah, that's fine. I trust you, so naturally that means I trust the people that you surround yourself with. Yeah. And then that person that comes in ultimately decides to go and tag all of the world raid bosses that are there. and then there's a big apology fest afterwards, and then a bit of infighting and whatever, and it's less than ideal. So I think like if there was different levels to this where you could say allies only, not just party only, so allies only, that'd be great. Or even with the party controls in the future, if it said something like the leader has to approve everyone that gets invited, so you can't just go and bulk invite everyone. The party leader might need to approve people. You might not need to set that up for all parties, but maybe for some parties you do. So yeah, I think it's definitely effort in the right direction that I'm really happy exists. And I do see it very much as something that will evolve into a better option in the future.
For now, on a basic level, it's definitely a big positive for me anyway.
Yeah.
What else has caught your eye? What's been your favorite change?
Mate, gosh, there is just too much. I'm just having a great deal of fun playing with people, just having a quick scroll over things. The Castle Keep can now have a Colosseum, so when you upgrade it, that's pretty cool. Especially, I don't know, can you share that with Party? Can you do Party Colosseum from your... Oh, that's all right. So that's cool. So you could do a roadshow of friends' Colosseums with them. How cool is that?
Yeah, if you want to do that, yeah.
Yeah, if you wanted to do that. Baylor Elite changed to... How would you pronounce that? I was going to say Maylor. Is that right?
Yeah, I would pronounce it Maylor, yeah.
Yeah. Herbalist can be made public. View distance is visible on the map, so there's a ring around your character to show how far you can see. And the action log that exists within battles. Plus, there's just like constant tweaks and changes happening throughout the life of this beta. The plan from Odie, he did a little bit of a Q&A, was to get this thing out soon. But he's been working overtime trying to just get things completely sorted before he goes live with it.
There's been a couple of pretty big bugs during the lifespan of this beta, which he's had to get rid of or fix, and then the day after that, something new pops along. I think one of the most common ones, which I saw people, let's say, using, there was basically like an infinite life bug. So as long as the party leader didn't die, they could if you're doing a party dungeon and somebody other than the party leader dies, they would actually reappear the next floor with 1 HP. They wouldn't get any rewards for the previous floor, but they would be back. So it kind of made people kind of take less care in dungeons, just like spam Mage's Pavane, and if you died, it doesn't matter, you come back next floor, you use Drain or Life Siphon, and you're back. So you could definitely do dungeons faster with less care. That was around, I think that actually came on like a Friday. So like Odie's there, he's been fixing bugs all week, and then boom, this happens on a Friday just before the weekend, and people have played about with it on Saturday. That has been fixed, and I think during that fix, for me, when I played party dungeons, at least the themed dungeons over the last few days, the last week, definitely think he's slightly increased the difficulty of them. The other thing is, when the beta dropped at first, you could solo the themed dungeons, and you would have that difficulty of all these multiple mobs. And then there was a change that came in where that option was kind of removed. So if you went in solo, you would only face a maximum of I think 2 mobs, and it kind of dropped the difficulty down. And turns out people who play Ordinal like a challenge. So there was a poll. Odie created a poll on the Discord, and there was kind of like an overwhelming majority of people who wanted the difficulty back. And what he's done is he's added it back as a choice. So you actually have the option of, if you go to a themed dungeon and you select party play, you can actually go in the lobby, but then you can enter the dungeon as yourself, solo. But you will have the gameplay of going up against multiple mobs, and it's not super straightforward. So, but the challenge is there for those who want it. Definitely easier to take on that challenge with at least one extra member on your team, because you're going to be taking focus fire from like up to 5 mobs. Like Battlegrounds with all those northern mobs, all those elite northern mobs, those new mobs, a lot of Zerks in there. You've got Zerk Odin, like hitting you. You're taking punches from everywhere. It's not a walk in the park, that's for sure.
Yeah, this horde mode button's a cool little ad, I think. It's really weird how overreactive all of us are. Like, and I did it too. When it come in, you get this new themed dungeon. You're like, oh shit, yeah, I can smash so many enemies at once. Oh god, they're killing me. This hasn't happened in the last 6 months. I haven't died to something before. And then you do party stuff, and you're able to finally work it out. And then you do it solo. You're like, yeah, I've got this worked out. This is cool. And then it gets sort of taken away, where it's just down to less enemies, and you're like, oh, this feels not as cool, especially when you're going to chase down something like, say, Gladyson from a Dragon Roost, which doesn't actually spawn in Dragon Roost as frequently as I might like, if I'm just personally putting out a bit of a view there, especially when you compare it to Boulder, who spawns a lot in Battlegrounds. But if you're doing a Dragon Roost solo and you're getting one enemy per floor and it's just a heap of Nagas or something, it just feels less than fun. So that horde option is cool. That's really awesome. And the fact that the key cost is turned up is okay with me, as long as there's still, like right now, the way that you play it, you can gain keys a lot easier right now, right? Because somebody else is paying the key cost for a lot of dungeons that you enter. So you're essentially getting free keys if you do a boss dungeon. So to balance that out, having the key cost turned up if you were to solo a horde mode one, or even I'm guessing you could go in 2 players, which doesn't spawn as many enemies. Can you turn on horde mode for 2 people and have it be 5 enemies each floor? Is that how it works?
No, I don't think that's how it works. It's just you select party option or not, and that's it. I think the way parties are set up now is that maybe it's tied either to the individual themed dungeons or the difficulty of the themed dungeons. As you said, if it's brutal or hard, that can have up to 5 enemies. I know Underworld was kind of tied down to 4 enemies max, regardless if you had 4 people in a party or not. That may be subject to change as well. He has definitely tweaked that around. So we'll see what comes out of that. I think Dragon Roost, there's a maximum of 3 enemies per floor if you play party mode. I think maybe 4. Maybe it's 4 now. But great point on the keys. Basically, only the party leader pays the key cost for entry into not just themed dungeons, but also if you're doing normal dungeons in party mode as well. And this actually is a bloody great thing for especially the mid game. If you can party up in the mid game, you can share the key costs around, and a lot of those mid game tier dungeons, even just normal dungeons, are actually key positive. So if you're getting, let's say you're in a party of 2 with your wife or your husband, 2 if you are like, I don't know, let's just say you're tier 7, you go into a tier 7 boss dungeon. Now you pay 5 keys. Only one person pays 5 keys to get in. But not only is one of you getting a free entry, you're getting more mobs that can actually drop keys. So you're coming out with big key gains. So I think tier 6, 7, 8, especially tier 7, tier 8 with those extra floors up to 20 floors. Tier 8 actually specifically. I think tier 7 you still get 13 floors, but you're still going to come out ahead. So this is really good encouragement for those mid-game players to tier up, party up with your kingdom mates, with your friends, smash those boss dungeons. Like, you don't need to find a spot with like 10 dungeons or 20 dungeons. You can get like a simple spot, 3 or 4 dungeons, even if it's just down the road. And if you got a party of 4, you can run like 12 dungeons in a spot that only has 3 dungeons, and that's your hour. More than likely.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, even in tier 10, because like the tier 10 ones might not be as key positive, but if you're entering it as the person who doesn't pay the price, and even if you're doing it with 4 people, you'll probably come out key positive through all that. And you get multiple more options at like God Forges and all of the Arisen weapons and Axes of Gilgamesh and Realm Spikes and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So, like I think that people are at the moment, they're shrugging off normal dungeons a lot, but I actually love doing the normal dungeons with this content, the way that it's structured with multiple enemies. It's actually brilliant. And I wonder if they'll also get, because right now that Horde mode button's only on the themed dungeons, right? So you've got Horde mode button and you've got continue with party, which you're right, the Horde mode button goes away. But I wonder if Horde mode button comes to regular dungeons as well.
I'm not so sure. If that, I'm not personally. I like the way it is right now, where at least the theme dungeons are kind of, made in a different way to normal dungeons, that you have the option to run them in party mode. I mean, if you're running boss dungeons solo, you're actually getting way more. Well, you're getting more orns because the rewards are split for party dungeons, like for any kind of party dungeons that you're doing in a party. So I don't know exactly how it's split, but I can tell you for sure that you're getting less rewards in terms of experience and orns. You're obviously getting more items that drop, but you're getting less orns. So like still like the fastest way to actually get orns will be to do dungeons solo. And it's you're not waiting on turn time for your other player and the more enemies and stuff. So that's go ahead.
I could probably see for the Horde mode on the regular dungeons is just that you don't want people to feel like, they're potentially being punished for not having friends or not being social or having, difficulty coordinating with other people due to time zones or whatever, and they might want multiple enemy floors for equal gear opportunity. So maybe there's some consideration there. I don't know.
That's a good point. We'll see. We'll see what happens with that.
We'll see.
Yeah. Theme dungeons, eh? What's your favourite one so far? Valleys?
Gotta be Valley.
Mo Valleys?
Gotta be Valleys. Mo Valleys. I love the Valley of the Gods, although they don't seem to work for me. It takes me so many kills to actually get a God Forge, but they've been absolutely brilliant as an addition. So friggin' exciting seeing like 3 Berserk Mammons on a floor or something like that.
Oh yeah, the Arisen gods can be Berserk now. It's crazy. I also saw a Berserk Mammon in the world, so the Berserk Mammons are back in the world as well. But I'm like really? You, Dangy. I haven't actually got a God Forge from any Valley of the Gods.
Right, okay, so I shouldn't complain.
You should not complain with your new axe.
I have to say something as well, Shab. I'm just chuckling to myself each time. Emperor's just calling me out for having a drink every time I do it.
Gotta
it's
stay
warm
hydrated.
In here, all right, man.
Gotta stay hydrated, mate.
Hydration equals God Forge. Yeah, so I like the valleys. I actually really like the battlegrounds.
Yeah,
I think that you're a fan of battlegrounds as well. Like seeing a whole... I think that family of enemies has always been one of my favourite throughout. So if you're talking about like anything that's sort of like Nothran or whatever, the big joke being that Odie's new company name should have been Nothran Forge and not Northern Forge. I really like that family. I always chased those because growing up through like tier 8 and tier 9 and whatever, that's where the Orns were for us, right? Yeah. Like that, you would world farm and you would kill those en masse for Orns. Because there was multiple reasons. Like I used to have to do that to keep my necro passive up. Every time I went to play, I used to have to kill 100 things before I went and played. And those were the things. And there was things like Nothran shoes were like a god tier item for me. I wanted those. So that I have like nostalgic feelings about kind of that family, and now we're seeing like Valkyries and elites and all this sort of stuff in there. It's I think the Battlegrounds is just, it's got a nice vibe to it. I like it, and Boulder's cool.
Yeah, Boulder's awesome. Really nice gear there. We talked about earlier. It's, as I said, it's not a walk in the park either. You can get a floor with like 3 Zerks: Zerk Odin, Zerk Northern Lord, Zerk Elite Northern Raider. They do damage. They do a lot of damage. So
yeah,
Battlegrounds awesome. I think I'd say my favorite is definitely so far Underworld Portal with all these gateways.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, there's the undies.
Yeah. And they've sort of changed over time as well, right?
Yeah,
like
he's tweaked them around.
Early on, there was like, maybe there's been changes in the amount of gateways that were there, the change in the amount of enemies that were actually spawning in them, that sort of thing. But yeah, those are cool, man. Like going to I think we did one together on one of your videos, and it's so cool going through a dungeon and feeling a little bit more confident that you're actually going to come out of it with a scroll, considering how valuable scrolls are in terms of gearing up. Event after event after event is always using summoning scrolls, which who knows whether that's going to be the state of the game forever, but right now it is. So more access to that is a really big deal for people.
Yeah, it's actually people are gonna be less uptight about using them, and because you know that if you use them 1 month and then the next month comes around and you think, oh, I really want to summon scrolls for this world raid boss, like for example Ferocious Ceres, when he comes back, you know that you can actually farm a decent amount of these up during the month. It's not like you do 20 dungeons a day and you're lucky if you get 1 or 2. You know, you can find an Underworld Portal or find somebody who's got access to it, run that in a party, and you can come out with like 2 or 3 every time that you do it, which is super nice. I've been kind of experimenting with running it with a tier 9 alt, because it kind of filters out the tier 10 mobs, and like, yes, it drops the floor count down to 20, but you know, firstly, it makes it easier to kind of AoE blast your way through it.
Yeah.
Because you don't have the sad Hades sprite with extra health. So you know, there's still a little bit of strategy there, like what you want to do, what you want to try.
Yeah.
It's going to be. I like them a lot. I wonder if he dropped the mob count on it only for beta. Maybe he'll bump it up when it goes live. So we'll see.
Yeah, he's just given himself a whole big sandpit of stuff that he can play with, right? Like this doesn't have to be the final iteration of theme gauntlets. This doesn't have to be the final list of theme gauntlets. He's played around already with making them visible to different tiers. So like for a period of time, I think there was this one, the Goblin Fortress wasn't showing if you were like above tier 10 or something like that. You weren't seeing Goblin Fortresses, and now you are. And you definitely can't see a Valley of the Gods if you're below the tier. So it just shows as a normal dungeon. You would never know that it was something different. So he's got a lot of scope to play around with this sort of stuff. Add in more ones, add in changes to how many enemies show up per floor. Maybe if you're entering with two people, maybe you do want the option to still turn. Have you used Horde mode? I haven't used it. Is it guaranteed 5 enemies a floor if you go Horde mode, or is it just?
It's just when you say Horde mode, it's just you have the option to press party.
Says. No, there's a button that says Horde mode.
Oh, is it? All right.
Yeah, it got added.
I've not used it yet.
Yeah, the update for it only came like maybe. Oh, it would have been while you were asleep. That's why you haven't used it. So the update only came a few hours ago. So when you're soloing into a theme dungeon, and for some reason my dungeons aren't showing up.
You need to update.
Yeah, you'll need to update. But when you
was going to ask you. Hopefully you've not talked it out of my head. What I was going to ask you. The theme dungeons are currently on a 1 week rotation.
That's right. There's a button,
right.
by the way.
Literally, it says horde mode. So be careful you don't.
Mode.
Be careful you don't tap hard mode instead. Or
like the same spelling basically. Yeah. I'll just tap it now, and I'm just going to enter it, and I want to see if it's 5. Nah, so that's immediately only 2 enemies on that floor. But what's really interesting is when you hit continue with party, horde mode disappears. There's not an option to do it.
Okay. So fair enough. I think he added. It's the same when he added the horde mode back in, and it was you access that by going to play with party. But now he's actually put in an option for it, which is good. Yeah, which is perfect. Question I was going to ask you, Dang, is currently the theme dungeons are on a 1-week rotation. They basically midnight UTC on Sunday night, they randomly refresh, so they will take the place of currently existing spawn dungeons in the world. They aren't actually new dungeons. They just every week they will randomly take the place of an existing dungeon. Do you like the 1 week time frame on these? Do you want to see it extended? Do you want to see it? I think going less than a week is way too much. I don't know if people want to see it. I don't know. Refreshed every day, is that too common? Is 1 week good? What do you think?
So I think that 1 week's too short. Personally, I think
too short.
The amount of time. Yes, I think like the rotation should be at minimum like 2 weeks, maybe a month. I don't know if that's too far, but I think if it's for a week, I think it hovers around for not. I don't know. It's if you were to think about this through the scope of somebody who plays it as a GPS game, right? So not the people who are got a really good online presence, who have access to way vessels and good friend networks and use Honor Legends and main Discord and Reddit and whatever other networks they have, the Facebook page even, to coordinate parties. If you're playing this as a GPS game and you found out there's this cool dungeon that exists on a Thursday and you want to start planning your routes around that and it goes away, even if you found it on the Sunday or the Monday or whenever it resets, it's Monday for me, so it would be, Sunday. I think like if you want to set up your routes for the next week and a bit, you want to start planning your drives with people or where you're going to go, it's just a little bit too short, because what that forces you to do is now I have to go and scope out my whole area on a Monday night to try and find out stuff really fast to make sure I know where everything is, so that I can then coordinate for a catch-up that I have with people on Thursday, so I know what we're going to be doing on Thursday, which we're going to get one run at, and then it'll all move again. So if you want to think of it from the scope of somebody who's playing it like a GPS RPG, I think 1 week is too short. I think it should be 2 weeks, or I think it should be a month, so that you can start to plan around what you're going to do. Lining it up with when the events refresh just makes so much sense to me. It's like, it's a new month, new event. Oh yeah, now we get to see where the dungeons are, boys. And we go for a bit of a hike and we try and find where all the cool stuff is.
What if you don't have any cool stuff? Like, what if you?
That's where it's tough. Yeah.
What if you have a mix of Goblin Fortress and Mystic Cave, and all you want is, you're at the end game and you want Underworld, you want Battlegrounds, you want Valley of the Gods. Like, what if all your local dungeons are either out of your tier, so like either you don't have access to them because they're too high tier for you to see, or they're low tier dungeons and they actually are worse off in terms of rewards such as Orens and XP for higher than normal dungeons. So you'd actually prefer a normal dungeon rather than like a Mystic Cave, for example.
So that's the perfect argument, right? Is like, what if you're left without for a month? And there are solutions, right? There's solutions that would be things like, okay, we look at a 10 square kilometer square or whatever, or radius, and say there needs to be X number of all of these dungeons within that. So it doesn't necessarily have to be where dungeons already exist. It might be that they can pop up randomly like a bazaar or a coliseum does. So that mechanic already exists within the game, that buildings can rotate. So we know it can be done. So it might be that, so a Valley of the Gods has to show up within this 10 square kilometers, miles. Sorry, USA. And Britain, I guess, there. But it has to. Yeah, there you go. So that means that you can be sure that month on month something will be near you. You just have to find it.
Yeah, you just have to find it.
Yeah, and then it becomes so exciting as a GPS game again. Now, I know that the flip side to that argument will be, well, I'm in lockdown. I can't do it right now. I get it. Trust me, I get it. I'm in lockdown right now. I can't do that.
Yeah.
But I think, like, for the longevity of the game being a GPS game, if we're going to encourage that mechanic still, I think that's a great way to deal with it.
I like that idea, to be honest.
Yeah.
Moving around, yeah. Speaking of which, he's definitely increased the spawn rate and incidences of bazaars and coliseums and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, massively,
definitely. But they also go away straight away.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you don't want a valley to pop up and then go away the next day once somebody completes it. But
no,
for bazaars and coliseums, that works fine.
Yeah. So if it was a month, like the new event month, now we have to go and find our stuff. Let's see what we've got this month. Let's try and find the 2 valleys that exist near us or whatever, and then we get to plan our routes. Get to plan where we're going to go and take a bus ride or a train ride or get on the push bike or go for a trip and get somebody to drive while you hold your phone.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think that'd be cool. But I mean, the extra content in itself, going and finding it on a weekly basis, is also it's pretty exciting. Trying to scope that out. I just think that that's not perfect yet, which. I'm sure there's probably feelings either way. People might love that it's weekly.
Yeah. Difficult one, which is best. I don't know if there is a best choice, just different options. We'll just have to adapt and to whatever outcome we have. We'll see. Maybe it can be a mix, like maybe you get monthly. Maybe you get a monthly one, which is there for a month, and then you also get a couple which rotate every week or something. I don't know.
Could do. You could do. You say like the ones that are static, so the dungeons that exist that get replace every week, but then you've got other ones that pop in and hover around for a bit. Yeah.
Tell you what, I love the sprites for all these themed dungeons, by the way. Especially the Valley. Oh my god, it's so cool. So cool.
The Valley's cool. It's definitely like it blends into the color palette a fair bit.
It does, yeah.
The one that the underworlds to me are just fantastic. That purple, like that's proper exciting seeing that purple pop up on your map.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
This week I've got one just up the road. It's just out of view range from my house, but I've popped the wave vessel on an alt like halfway to it, so I can see that wave vessel from where I live, so I can activate it on an alt, and then I can just hop over there when I'm being lazy and don't want to go and get it.
Nice.
Yeah, that's something. Yeah, that's the. No, it's been super fun playing. I can't wait for it to go live, for everyone to get involved, to have more people to play with as well. It can be a struggle to find people to play with at the moment.
It can be a struggle to find people. It can be a struggle to find people that are actually going to look at their phones while they're playing as well. It's we're starting to run into the problems of other online games sometimes, where it's like, oh my god, could they just take their turn? Because this is turn-based and you're sitting waiting for them to do their turn. You're like, oh, I was meant to go and put on dinner for the family, but I've started this dungeon and they're not moving.
Oh man, yeah.
So like using voice chat is it's definitely a lot. To me, it's a better experience.
It's definitely it definitely makes like playing it more efficient. But then you get to chatting for hours, as you said.
Yeah,
and dinner was supposed to be ready an hour ago. Sorry.
Yeah. That's it. We did have another topic on here, mate, which is around a Q&A that Odie did, and there's a bit to that. I don't know if we want to cover everything in there, just because it's probably already pushing on a longer form than we. I don't know. I always say let's try and keep it tight. It goes for a couple of hours.
Yeah, exactly. It's just the frequency we're doing these at the moment. There's always a heap of stuff that we need to get through, and there's always more than we expect at the beginning. It's like, okay, this will take an hour, and then 2 hours later, we've just about covered the basics of stuff. But Odie did like an impromptu Q&A in the main Discord, in the MEIN Discord, a couple of days ago. Let's see what we could here. Maybe we find like one, or maybe we find like two things each that we like.
Well, I touched on one of them earlier.
Okay.
So happy to talk about that immediately if you want. There's one that Odie said, which was, I've talked about other class lines before. That's ultimately something I'd love to explore. These lines would go multiple tiers. So
yeah.
He's done that kind of in response to a question about like what's the plan in terms of tier 10, tier 11. Like, is it just going to sit how it is, or are we going to get more specs, whatever? So this is really interesting because he hasn't said I've tossed up the idea of more classes, but class lines. So what does that mean? Is that thief, mage, warrior? Are those the lines?
Yeah, I
Does
think
that mean
so.
there's another one? What else could there be besides thief, mage, and warrior? What am I thinking? I can't think of what the other one would be.
The god line, the Arisen class.
Yeah.
That was so. I don't know if he left this in on purpose or by accident, but like literally first minutes of beta, I started.
Yeah.
When it dropped, I started streaming it on the main Discord, and like everybody was watching. Odie was watching as well, and I was just checking out the classes to see if there was anything new, and there was the Arisen class, which was actually hyped, months ago before Ascension.
Ages.
And it was there for 50 million orns, but I didn't have 50 million orns. I couldn't buy it, and Odie was like, "Oh shit, that's not supposed to be there," and he removed it. So it was there available. I wonder if I'd bought it, he probably would have taken it away. So I don't know if that's coming. That was the only thing I remember from that, is that it didn't have any passive abilities, but it had much higher stats than the class I was currently on. So like all like the base stats, including HP and stuff, that was all much higher. Required deity to unlock. So I don't know whether he said that's not actually coming, but I wonder if he's just saying that to take our eyes away from it. Here's one for you. Again, something we touched on earlier anyway. There's a question, is there anything coming in live release for 3.0 that wasn't in the beta? And Odie says yes. So, so there's things coming which we've not seen yet. Excited for that, for sure.
Yeah. Is there anything coming that we haven't seen? This is already so much. How can there be more?
Yeah.
It's simple,
so,
yes.
How much more as well? Like,
yeah, that's interesting, intriguing. And the point made by Mr. Main Discord himself immediately after that comment is that Chronomancer that you spoke about earlier.
Yeah.
Potentially that is you spoke about Inquisitor having revive, and maybe there's a T9 variant that has a different version of revive in there.
More healing or something.
More healing.
Or like party buffing.
Yeah, because there's that there's that skill Prey, which heals everyone 500 HP, I think.
Aye.
Which doesn't quite cut the mustard later on. It needs to be much higher for higher tier content. But yeah, yes, there's more coming.
Yeah, there's more coming. Here's another one I like, Dangy. Then you can say one. Your man there again asks, will we be getting the ability to challenge people to live PvP directly? And Odie says, yeah, I think so. There's a ton of requests for this. Here's another request for that, Odie, please. Would love to see that ASAP. Because now you can just... So I kind of played around in beta with... I basically made... On all my phones, I made a party of 2. And And because beta, there's no tier matchmaking because there's not that many people around. So you can... Tier 3 can face up against tier 11. So basically I had a party of 2 parties of 2, entered live matchmaking at the same time, and immediately they both matched. So Foresight wasn't actually working there, but again in the same Q&A, Odie confirmed that Foresight will be working for live PvP, at least party live PvP. So again, that is going to be a big strategic thing. So yeah, if we can like force challenge our allies or other kind of like direct matchmaking, I'm excited for that.
Yeah, that's cool. That's because the whole like sitting there waiting for live PvP and then not knowing that you're definitely going to get the people that you, because that's kind of what you're interested in, is challenging some specific people.
Yeah, exactly.
Directly.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. The the one that I was going to say next just sort of shows how much of a sadistic bastard this guy is as well.
Let's hear
There's
it.
a question. Are you planning to make more frequent change logs? Like, even not so detailed, so it just has dot points like 4 new skills, 2 spells rebalanced. And Odie replied that could work. And he's added, I really like seeing the community scramble and figure out stuff when I'm intentionally vague, like the Godforge weekend. So when he dropped the Godforge stuff and none of us knew how to do it, so everyone was just doing heaps of stuff to try and work out how to get a Godforge.
Here, do you think he did say something there? I said like Godforge weekend. Like, do you think he meant when Godforge initially dropped, or do you think there was a weekend at some point where Godforge rates were increased for just the weekend, or what?
Well, my initial read on that was just the weekend that Godforges dropped, because it was like when he released Godforges, nobody got one for like 3 days or something, or two and a bit days. It was like a period of time when no one knew how to get them, and it just like was trying to work out all these different things. And then when we worked out how to get Godforges, we were doing things like putting on luck increasing items, going like, oh, does that affect Godforges? We don't know. That's all I read it as, but it could be, he's got an events calendar. We might see one pop up saying increase Godforge rates, come and get it. But yeah, I love that. I love seeing the community scramble to figure things out.
No, I definitely like that aspect to it as well. Like, this is something new nobody knows about. Something, find something. It's like, oh, what is this, by the way? Have you seen this before? Super cool.
Yeah. You actually asked one that I really liked, Sheb.
Oh yeah.
Is Arrow Storm going to be AOE? It's the most natural fit to me. As a melee skill that needs to be AOE, Arrow Storm. You just sort of imagine they're shooting stuff up in the sky, storm of arrows. And Odie's response was that he'd need to nerf it, which might be an unpopular opinion, but would rather focus on using lesser used skills viable in party play. I wonder if he has scope, though, to add in something in his damage calculations somewhere along the lines that if it hits multiple targets, you just drop that damage a little bit more than what it would do against a single target, so that you're not actually nerfing it for single target use. So Arrow Storm can still be used to raid with your Fey Cactus or whatever. And then when you take it into a party dungeon, it doesn't just immediately do so much damage to everything, but it's sort of a bit less than what it would normally do if it was to one target. But I liked that idea, because it's a good one.
Yeah, either that or bringing up underused skills. great shout. Like, nobody ever used Mage Pavane. And now, and now it's probably the most used skill in beta. So yeah.
Oh yeah.
Love it.
Mate, there's a lot there. There's always going to be a lot there, though, isn't there? There's going to be more and more to talk about. What do you reckon?
I reckon we have one final one, and then we can go do some dungeons.
Go do some dungeons. Have you got any there that was standing out to you?
Nah.
I probably don't. Like, there's constant conversation going on. This recent change around the horde mode is an example of that, because that's been something that was only discussed after the Q&A. So the Q&A happened a few days ago, and then this horde mode introductions happened more recently. He's done a couple of things recently, like he did a Reddit post just to touch base with the community. Which is worth everyone going and having a read, just to sort of say, you know, like, I am paying attention. I'm not here. I'm working very hard, you know, trying to get this all balanced out. The intention's not to have things be unfair, which is probably a really challenging one with this particular beta, because there's such a large change and so many new things coming to the game that there's just a bit of a natural feeling of, oh man, I wish I had that content now. But in the grand scheme of things, the period of time will be a blip on the radar of Orna's lifetime, and
exactly, yeah,
it'll be better to have a working product than to drop something for everyone day one just full of issues. You would lose more players that way than you would the other. But go have a read of the Reddit post. See that the guy's working hard. He is still a one-man show right now. Might not be coming up, but we'll stay tuned, I guess, on that front.
Any jobs going?
Yeah, any jobs going? Overall, I think the content's cool. I'm really excited about the calendar stuff. I can't wait for this to drop for everyone. So I'm really hopeful that it's this week.
Me
that
too.
was one question that he answered. I think you asked that question as well about, you know, when are we going to see this one go live? And I think the answer was something along the lines of soon, like just trying to iron out a few final
couple of major
bugs
things.
There we go, working through hopefully the last of its issues. We're getting close. So hopefully it's soon and everyone can jump in and enjoy it. But I'd be keen to do party dungeons with some people.
Same. Same. Nah, for sure. Like, people are already organizing pub games in like the Orna Legends Discord and stuff. So we try and keep it friendly, keep it polite. There's going to be a whole bunch of people who haven't played party dungeons yet. There's like this. I've done all the mistakes. I've started a party dungeon as solo, and everyone's gone, "Oh, come on, man."
I've done it too. Yeah.
You've done it. Like, so I think that's something everybody's going to do. Died as leader, like gone in, just started attacking, and then you get one shot or something like that. Died as leader, ends the dungeon on like immediately for everyone as well. I think everyone's going to do that. So a heap of fun stuff for everyone to get their teeth sunk into. I think, as you say, man, like, it's been a short time. Hopefully people can just like take a breath. If they're feeling kind of any injustice, they can just take a breath, take a break from the game. If you've gone super hard recently, you know, just take a break. Come back when things are live and like settle down a bit. I think that this is going to be a hugely positive jump for the game, not just for its existing player base, but for newer people to get to hop in.
Definitely. Even like, and you do see a little bit that's written out there that's, you know, quite lengthy, and, you know, these are all the things that are wrong. But I'm also seeing on the flip side in different kingdom discords, like in even our kingdom in Trolls in the Socket, we have a lower kingdom called the Frost Goblins, and a couple of those guys are in the beta. never spoken to each other before, and I'm seeing them on a voice call every day, playing together.
Every day, wow.
How cool is that?
Awesome.
And that kingdom now, it's just churning. They're getting through their raids more now because they're talking to each other and they're getting through content like the world raids. They weren't really sharing world raids together, and now they probably are because it's a bit easier to coordinate that stuff. You can do party stuff. So, you know, the vocal minority isn't necessarily a full representation of how everyone is feeling about this, and I can't wait. I just can't wait for this to hit the shelves. I don't know, like hit everyone's devices. Yeah.
What century is this? Yeah, hit the shelves. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
How about
I know.
How about we go hit these undies, Dangy? Let's go hit these undies.
That'll do. That sounds great, mate.
All right. Thanks everyone for tuning in live. Thanks for if you're watching this afterwards on YouTube and the other podcast players. Thanks heaps for listening. Get involved. Let us know what you think. Dangy, thanks for hosting this with me.
It's been fun, mate. Really appreciate the audience, really appreciate the chatter, and just can't wait to do some of the content with people.
Yeah, same. All right. Cheers, guys. Thanks for the live chat. Thanks for the hydration. Get your morning coffee in, get your blue V in, get your water in. And we'll see everyone on the Orna Legends Discord. We'll see everyone doing party dungeons. Daniel, let's go get this undie.
Sounds good,
All
mate.
right. Ciao, everyone. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.